On page 2, line 4, operate in a careless manner that endangers or would be likely to endanger any person or property. Who determines that?
I believe law enforcement would determine that.
Is there a definition of what?
This is essentially lines 2 and 3. Well, part 2 and 3 of B are essentially pedestrian protecting measures that are put in there.
I get that, but I'm trying to figure out, how do you actually know what a careless manner that endangers or would be likely to endanger?
Well, I guess if you're riding by and you try to clip somebody, that would probably be a dangerous manner of operating your bicycle.
But let's say you're 4 years old and you're riding down and you swerve a whole bunch. Could that be considered a dangerous manner as well?
I'm not sure. I think we'll leave that to law enforcement.
Okay, and then line 6, operate at a speed greater than an ordinary walk.
Yeah, this is essentially so it'll protect pedestrians whenever a bicyclist is coming. They have to slow down at certain points. It's also to make sure it protects them, so that if they're crossing an intersection, that a car that's coming, because we also have further down in here in section C saying that the person on the bicycle has to be treated more like a pedestrian. So if they're approaching a crosswalk, it's so that
I'm just trying to figure out how you determine the definition of an ordinary walk.
Well, I mean, it's as fast as the ordinary person walks, I guess, whenever they're crossing.
As fast as I walk, or as fast as Johnny Gwynn, the guy sitting behind you, walks?
I guess either one.
And we also can't, persons riding groups of 4 cannot operate on a sidewalk under this legislation?
That was brought about because in committee they had some concerns about large groups of people riding on the sidewalks. Although I think Representative Gwynn has an amendment that's supposed to change that. So,
has an amendment that, because I mean, if 4 people would be me, my wife, and 2 kids, now they have to ride in the street?
Well, under current existing law, you have to ride in the street.
So why do we need that?
Under existing law, a bicycle is considered a vehicle, and vehicles cannot ride on the sidewalk. The reason why I'm bringing this legislation...
No, why you have line 13 if it's already in law?
Line 13 was because they had concerns in the committee by a couple members with large groups of people on the sidewalk. But like I said...
But if it's already in law, why do we need it now? I'm just... Overall, I don't get why would...
Under the bill, it would allow bicyclists to be able to start using the sidewalk.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Landry for question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Ortego, number 3, where it says they shall not operate at a speed greater than an ordinary walk when they're approaching a crosswalk, a driveway, a ramp, etc. How fast can they go when they're not approaching a crosswalk or a driveway?
I guess as fast as they can go.
So they can go as fast as they want to go, and if there's a mother strolling a baby on the sidewalk with a 2-year-old running around and they buzz by at 30 miles an hour, do you think that's a good idea?
I think if they're going 30 miles an hour, they'll probably be on the highway. Essentially what this is going to do is allow a bicyclist, because you have multiple different types of bicyclists. You have anywhere from children who are riding their bicycle to elderly who are riding their bicycle, as well as bicyclists who are riding at 30 miles an hour, but usually those people are riding on the highway.
But does your bill prohibit them from riding on the sidewalk?
Well,
does it say only children and old people can ride on the sidewalk?
That's the intent of number 2 of Section B, I think.
So what would be operating in a careless manner? Is that defined in the bill?
It's not defined in this bill, no.
So basically they can go as fast as they want on the sidewalk, a sidewalk that might have a woman strolling a baby or a 2-year-old walking. Do you know what could happen if a bicycle ran into a 2-year-old?
Well, that was a concern in the committee, but I think we had figured that out also because usually you would be approaching a sidewalk, approaching a crosswalk or approaching a driveway in the case that someone would be pushing their stroller.
Why would they be approaching why would they be approaching a crosswalk if they were pushing a stroller? What if they were just out taking a walk with their baby?
That would be in a neighborhood. So.
Well, they're just taking a walk with their baby and their 2-year-old, and they now, in addition to having to keep their children out of the street, they're also, if your bill passes, going to have to be on the constant lookout for a speeding bicyclist to come who could kill a toddler. I mean, don't you agree that a bicyclist could do serious damage to a small child?
That's why we have number 2 in here.
But is number 2 even, is it defined anywhere? I mean, what would...
I think
you said a minute ago yourself that they could go as fast as they wanted to go. I mean, that was your answer when I asked you that.
If they see that they're approaching someone, I would hope that they would slow down.
But nothing in your bill would
I don't think that this is
specifically prohibit them from going slowly. Under your bill, they could actually go pretty fast.
This is intended for the bicyclists who are going to be choosing the sidewalk as opposed to the highway, and usually that's going to be because they're going at a much lower rate of speed. So.
But your bill doesn't say that. It doesn't say that only slow-moving bicycles could be on the sidewalk.
No, and it doesn't define what's fast or slow.
Historically, bicycles have not been allowed on sidewalks. Isn't that correct?
Right now, a bicycle is defined as a vehicle, and vehicles cannot go on the sidewalk. That's correct.
And do you know why? Do you know why we've had that rule for so long?
I don't know if it was an intended rule, because I think a lot of people, their children ride on sidewalks all the time. They didn't. Most people in the committee didn't even realize that they have been breaking the law technically for years.
But there's a big difference between a child riding a little bicycle on the sidewalk and someone zooming by at 20 or 30 miles an hour while families are walking on the sidewalk. So I think that's probably why it's been against the law.
This is just giving the option to people to be able to choose something that is safer for them. Very often you have people who are riding their bicycles on highways right now, and this is intended to allow more options for people to make sure that they're in the safest manner right now. Because, I mean, you can also make the argument from the point that somebody's child might be riding their bicycle at a very low speed on a highway, and that's the only way. Or you might have people who the only mode of transportation they have is either by foot or by car or by bicycle, and this is meant to also protect bicyclists.
And do the bicyclists, under your bill, are they required to have liability insurance before they ride on the sidewalks?
My bill does not address insurance.
Where they might hit a small child?
My bill does not address insurance.
Okay, thank you.
And currently they can ride on the highway, and actually they're forced to ride on the highway.
Representative Billiot for a question.
Just the other day, did you know that I had an individual that came to me and he showed me a ticket that he got for running a stop sign on his bicycle? And so the police officer gave him a ticket. Are you aware of that?
I wasn't aware of that,
It's all got to be questions.
No.
Just 2 days ago, I had someone who came up to me also and made mention to me that he needed to pay.
Is there a question in here?
Yeah, I want to let him know that all this is already in place. That I have to agree with Representative Landry is that if you take somebody who's on a bicycle, who's getting ready to register to go to one of these races, and decides to take the sidewalk to get out the traffic and runs into somebody or doesn't run into somebody, just turns and would do that. The danger of that happening, would you allow this bill to only be for your parish where you live at instead of us trying to do it in Jefferson and the other ones?
One thing that is included in the bill is Section F that says nothing contained in this section shall construed to prohibit parish or municipal governments from regulating or prohibiting the operation of bicycles on sidewalks.
Okay, so would you just have this for your parish so we don't have to go back and change anything that we already have in place?
I think currently Orleans Parish, for example, does have an ordinance that this would not supersede.
This will not supersede any of the laws that we have out there?
Any local or municipal laws, ordinances this would not supersede them, and that's spelled out in the bill as it is.
Okay, I just know that we do have situations that what Representative Landry was talking about that really does possess.
People can argue also the same way that a bicyclist might be putting themselves in danger by being on the highway of people driving 60 miles an hour. So,
There's a big difference in being on the sidewalk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I would much rather,
Thank you.
in certain cases, as a bicyclist, I'd much rather be on the sidewalk than on a 60-mile-an-hour highway.
All right, there are no other questions. To the floor